This is WCM's Park Update, a weekly show covering the outdoor hospitality industry, hosted by Ben Quiggle and Mike Gast. During each episode, you'll hear from special guests and campground experts on topics that will help your park flourish. WCM's Park Update is a production of Woodall's Campground Magazine.
Hi, I'm Ben Quiggle, editor of Woodall's Campground Magazine, and welcome to another edition of WCM's Park Update, sponsored by Book Outdoors. And of course, my esteemed colleague, Mike Gast, is here from the former Vice President of Communications at Campgrounds of America. And our guest today is somebody that's probably pretty recognizable to a lot of our audience, Kathleen Walsh, CEO and founder of Advanced Outdoor Solutions. And Kathleen, I just saw you at a ton of conferences. I think you spoke at a number of them. I know you were at the glamping show, which is one of my favorites now. It's an awesome show. And I believe you spoke at Ojai too, right?
I did, yes. And first of all, thanks, Ben and Mike, for having me. It's always a pleasure to be on with you. I always see Ben on the road. He's a road warrior like I am. But yes, I'm honored to have been one of the only guests at glamping that's been invited to speak every year of their existence. So I'm really honored. I must be doing something right, I guess. And then, yes, I had 2 panels at Ojai. And so it was great to be out there on the road, seeing everyone and getting a chance to speak about some of the topics I'm passionate about.
Sorry, are you getting used to saying Ojai yet?
No, and I probably never will.
And for people in the audience that may not recognize Ojai, that's formerly the National Association of RV Parks and Campgrounds, and they rebranded a couple weeks ago to Ojai. So I think people from Ohio are wondering if they just forgot the O, but I don't know.
Either that or they've moved everything to Southern California.
Southern California.
You know, I guess I understand it in that they want to also reach out to the glamping industry. But I will tell you, the American Glamping Association and their show in Denver every year is probably the best show I've ever attended and the most well-run show. And for me, it generates about 6 months worth of work. So I'm taking a slight break from my travel from that show and picking right back up after the holidays. So tremendous show, great vendors, great organizers. If you don't attend the glamping show as a vendor, you definitely should.
So Kathleen, with all these shows under your belt now, what's your overall feeling about the industry? Are we on the upswing, or is your business really, really jumping now because, or is it slowed down because of the interest rates and the economy?
You know, that's a great question. And at the beginning of 2023, on the land plan development site design side of the company, I said to them, look, it's probably going to be slower than last year because of the cost of money. And nothing's been further from the truth. I have been as busy this year as I've ever been. A lot of it is private equity money or a lot of 1031 money. You know, people sold assets and they need to invest and they're looking at this space for investing. I have a lot of properties that are doing capital expenditure, expansions and improvements. So we've stayed incredibly busy. And one of the newest projects I'm involved in, which I'm super excited about, is town revitalization. So we were hired by the town of Wolcott, Indiana, to come in and revitalize their town with an RV park and campground. And so that's been a great pleasure to be a part of it as well. So yeah, it's been quite a busy 2023.
So do you think that's going to be a new trend in those communities that are looking to expand on that? Because it seems like it's always been the other way around. It's kind of been a fight with the locals to try to get an RV park in.
I think it should be a trend because when you bring folks in, we have the numbers from industry reports that talk about the amount of money they spend in a town when they come in and stay. And so they go to restaurants, they buy gas, they buy groceries, they go to movies. And so it's been a real joy to be a part of this project in Wolcott. And the state, the county, the city are all involved in possible grant money. So yeah, this rising tide can lift all ships, which is exciting to be a part of.
Yeah. What What do you get? Well, like you're working with Walcott, which, I used to live in Indiana. I think they have like 1,000 people. It's not a very big town, right?
It's not, but it has a lot of manufacturing in and around it.
Yeah,
I was actually fascinated by some of the things that are happening. There's a company there called Biotech Ab. Um, they are doing amazing things with farm waste, turning it into natural gas. There's some of the biggest egg shippers in the country in and around that area. So they have an awful lot of manufacturing, and these manufacturing plants bring in executives and workers, and there's a
yeah,
lack of housing and lodging. So it's exciting. I think that that town has a real opportunity to turn around with this project.
yeah. And I think you have Indiana Beach not too far away,
Correct.
which maybe there's some of that, but which is an amusement park. But I guess so. Are what's been the reaction from the people in Walcott? Because I know when we watch these developments throughout the country, sometimes it can be met with kind of negative reactions by the actual residents, I guess.
Yeah, we're actually having a webinar this coming Wednesday for a project
Okay.
in Maine that has a lot of opposition. But in Wolcott, they understand the need for
Yeah.
some sort of financial injection in. So the partners are very passionate about it. The town, the state's very passionate about it, and the
Mhm.
people who have businesses there would like to see more traffic.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
It's gonna be
Definitely.
a fun one to watch. What about the management side of your business? I know that that third party management, on your website, you call it the wave of the future. Is that still coming to be? With all these outside money coming in, people that really don't want to be on feet on the ground, they want somebody else to kind of manage things for them.
It is, yes. That part of our company has grown every year since we started the company. So, and then, the interesting thing about management in this day and age is oftentimes we will have groups sign with us for a 3-year term, and they'll let us know up front, like, we're really only signing you so that we can learn how to do it ourselves. And then after 3 years, we're going to take it in house. If you're a large portfolio, that makes sense. And we appreciate their transparency and the opportunity to work with them. But then there's other groups that have no desire ever to manage their own properties. One of my clients told me, yeah, I tried that one time and I fired myself. So, um, third party management is tough. It's keeping your eye on the ball all day, every day. And if you're a smaller operation, you need to go with a company like ours that has the economy of scale to do the things that you need to have done on a daily basis.
Yeah, and I think you talk a lot about that kind of stuff at the conventions that I see you at.
Mhm.
And I think one of the biggest things that you always talk about on that front is rate management. And I
Yeah.
know I think I talk with some people who are like Kathleen Walsh is great mind. And then some when they talk about rate management, they're like they don't really agree with you to some degree, I
Mhm.
guess. You're pretty aggressive with rate management. How has that kind of helped your company grow, I guess?
Yeah, I had a lady in Arizona last year accuse me of highway robbery. After I spoke, she cornered me, and it was regarding pet fees. She
Yeah,
said, "You charge $35 per day per pet for someone in a cabin and you max
yeah,
out at 2. So that's $70 a day. That's highway robbery what you're doing to people." And I said, "I actually look at it as a great service because to board their pet is about $40 a day. And
yeah,
now I'm $5 less and they can bring their pet with them." So I look at it very differently. And we are aggressive on rate and revenue management. And that takes on a whole bunch of items that some people agree with me on, some people don't. But at the end of the day, I can't think of a single property we have this year that didn't improve over last year. Not one. So the proof's in the pudding, as far as I'm concerned.
My
yeah,
history with KOA, that was always the case when 20 years ago when I would be putting together the KOA directory, and we would call a campground and ask them if they wanted to change their rates, and there was no science to it. And usually the husband would call his wife over, and they would debate whether they should go up $1 on the cabins. And
Yeah.
And it was a huge thing because they said, well, we had that one complaint last year at the front desk, and that would scare them off. And now it's all data driven, and there's so much demand out there. The dirt survey just came out and said it's three times harder than it used to be to book a campground.
Mm-hmm.
So the demand is so high out there. What is the ceiling on rates? Do you think anybody's doing it right?
Well, I think we are, because we push rate until the market pushes back.
Yeah.
So I have properties now that are getting $200 a night, just shy of $200 a night for an RV site, because the market will bear it in that market. And so, Mike, I appreciate you bringing up data, because we do not lick our finger, stick it in the air, and take a guess. We really go into data, and I mean hard data, our own internal data, historical data, air DNA data, industry data, to figure out what is the right mix. And I have someone on my payroll internally, excuse me, his only job is to build data dashboards so that we can continually drill down and make data-driven decisions. And he's not cheap, but that kind of data is needed to make the right decision.
Yeah. What do I think one of the complaints, obviously, I think you already mentioned it to some degree when you talked about the pets, is the fees and little extras. And I know there's a segment of park owners I speak with that just don't want to raise the rates very much. I guess, what do you tell those people when you meet them, or they kind of are like, I can't believe you charge that much, I guess?
Well, the first thing I explain is that revenue management doesn't always mean raising rate. It can oftentimes mean lowering rate. So there's a misconception about that. Secondly, they think we're raising rate hundreds of dollars. Early on in my career, I did a seminar called Turn $3 into 10,000. And I took a real AOS park and showed how increasing the rate by $3 resulted in $10,000 worth of additional revenue. So I take away the argument that we raise rate in a shocking manner. Now, if it's the right market, sure, we will. But if it's, we do it based off market data and market demand. Or lower. Let's say Wednesdays are a low day for you. We'll lower rate on Wednesdays. The other thing we do pretty aggressively is our minimum lengths of stay. So, if for a high demand property, if you want to book a year out, you might have to book for 7 nights, 5 nights. And then as we get closer to the booking window, we might relax those restrictions a bit.
It always fascinated me, again, in the camping business, where I was around a front counter at a campground, and they would have a longtime camper would come in and start complaining and arguing about the rate, and basically saying that I'm not going to pay that. It's something that would never happen at a hotel. You never walk into the hotel and complain about the rate, but it was something about RVing that there was this intrinsic right to have some say about what you were going to be paying that.
Yeah, I think it's that familiar nature of camping, which is one of the reasons we all love outdoor hospitality. We get to know our guests, they become our friends. When I used to GM, by the end of the season, I didn't have to buy wine for a year, because so many of my guests would bring me bottles of wine, sun-dried tomatoes, cheese. So I think there's a reluctance to raise rate because the guests have become your friends. But at the end of the day, you have to run this like a business. This is a business. And so it must be run like a business. And if you have the right amenities and the right site and the market demand for those, you should be charging market rate for your product, or else you're cheapening yourself, which you shouldn't do.
Yeah. Well, we have to take a break to recognize our sponsor, Book Outdoors, and we will be right back.
Today's show is sponsored by Book Outdoors. If you want increased visibility and higher occupancy, your campground needs to be listed where today's guests are searching and booking. Book Outdoors is the most sought-after destination for booking outdoor accommodations. Listing your property on Book Outdoors is free and easy, and Book Outdoors seamlessly integrates with several popular reservation systems. Register now and get a $25 gift card when your listing is published, plus another $100 to celebrate your first booking. Visit partners.bookoutdoors.com for more information and to get started.
Hi, welcome back to WCM's Park Update, sponsored by Book Outdoors, and we are talking with Kathleen Walsh, founder and CEO of Advanced Outdoor Solutions. And Kathleen, how long has Advanced Outdoor Solutions been in business now?
Well, I started in outdoor hospitality about 20 years ago, and that was with my old company. And when my boss and mentor, who is still one of my dearest friends, when he sort of took a back seat, I knew it was time for me to start my own company. So we are 11 years now in business, and super exciting what has happened in the business since I started it. I kind of never planned on growing as much as I have. But I guess I was the right knowledge at the right place at the right time. And God's been good to me. My staff is amazing. And we've had nothing but incredible growth over those years. So I'm pretty excited about, what we've done.
So let's talk about staff for a second. Where are you finding camping professionals now? I mean, that seemed like it was such a anomaly 20 years ago.
I'm really fortunate in that so many people that have worked with me in the past or that I've met in other parks or walks of life enjoy working with us. So my regionals who are with me now, I have one new regional. The rest of my regionals have been with me forever. We believe strongly in promoting from within. So we have great training programs in Advanced Outdoor to take maybe a front desk person who we know has the potential to be a GM. We really train them hard internally so that when our next property comes on board, we can transition them to the GM position. We really look for strong talent internally and promote them to higher positions. We also, for the industry, have a very good benefit package, 401k. We have some of the perks that maybe people in the camping industry aren't used to having. And so I think that helps us as well.
Okay, I'll ask another question while Ben's working on his resume.
Ben's hired. No interview, Ben's hired.
Okay, all right.
It's you've been in a lot of shows in the last month. What's the first thing you look for when you come into a new client's campground? What do you see that is missing just about every time that you just have to plug in?
Wow, that's easy. For longer term parks, cleanliness and strict adherence to rules. So many long-term or even seasonal parks allow their guests to basically junk up their sites and their overall park. So that's one of the first things we implement is a strict rules and regulation guideline to what you can and cannot have on your site. So that's the big one for longer term parks. For transient parks, it's probably rate sheets, which I take and shred in the shredder. We don't allow paper rate sheets ever. So you have to quote off the grid every day because every day your rate might change. Overlooking ancillary revenue streams is a big one. Also site types, taking site types and making more site types for more revenue. So this row of sites might all be the same price, but yet I know that these 3 have a water view and the rest of them don't. Well, I'm going to create a new water view site type at a higher rate rather than just leave them all together. Linens in cabins. So many people make guests bring their own. That's a no-no for us. If you're coming and you're paying for a cabin with us, you're going to get not only linens, but high quality hotel type linens. So those are just some of the smaller things that I see that campgrounds often overlook.
What kind, when I talk with park owners, they're always talking about different value add amenities where maybe like a mining sluice or something where there's an amenity where they can make money off of it. I guess what's been successful for you? Has it been something like a mining sluice or whatever else? What's been great to generate extra revenue for you at parks?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it does depend on the park. Like, so a
Yeah,
mining sleuth is not going to work well in a Florida snowbird park, but it will work great in a family-centric park. So buying the right amenities for your market makes a big
yeah,
difference. We just had a client who wanted to put in mini golf at a Florida snowbird park, and we're like, no, no, they're not going to play mini golf. Spend that on a really nice dog park or a pickleball court. So sometimes amenities are things that you can charge extra for. Sometimes there are amenities that allow you to increase your average daily rate. A pool is a great example. We're strong believers in pools, and you may not be able to charge a guest to go to your pool, but you sure can increase your average daily rate. We're going to say anywhere between $10 and $15 a night because you have a pool. If you
yeah,
have a heated pool, that's an added benefit. This may not bode well with some people, but alcohol sales are big in RV parks and campgrounds. Tiki bars, poolside bars. We
yeah.
don't overserve. We're very strong on the rules and regs that we make our staff adhere to. But at a 22% cost of goods sold, alcohol sales make sense if you're not morally opposed to them.
Well, I think you could combine alcohol, the little mini alcohol bottles, and the mining sluice. Maybe if you like buried the alcohol in sand,
Yeah.
for the adult parks.
Yeah.
But I just
Hey,
have
Ben,
these
that's a
ideas.
great idea. I think you may have just started a trend.
I
Yeah.
know. I'm gonna talk to some of the mining sluice companies, see what we can do.
You
But
know, I had a bar from my very first campground I ever operated.
yeah,
And the only person I ever had to throw out was a police officer. And I love the police. My husband is a FOP lawyer, but he had been overserved at another bar and then wanted to be served at our bar. And we have a
yeah.
strict policy of no, we don't do that.
How
You-
how have how has the camping public changed in the last 20 years for you? I know that we got a lot of first timers after
Yeah.
the pandemic.
Mhm.
It's got to be a little bit harder to maintain the rules and communicate with them when they're brand new.
We know right after the pandemic was at its heyday, I was at one of our parks in New York State, and it was April. So we didn't have a ton of check ins that day. I think there were maybe 13. The majority of those 13 were first time RVers. And it made me very aware of the fact that we needed to have camp hosts and people on site who could teach them about camping, about their rigs, and about the rules of camping. So I sent out an email company wide that day and said, be aware that this year is going to be a majority of new RVers. They may not know how to back in, so please help them. They may not know how to hook up their black water, their gray water, any of that. Please help them with that. Because if you can take them and teach them, you've earned a guest for life. On the flip side, these are hotel people who didn't know that a campsite came with ants or snakes. So, you have to say, well, this is outdoor hospitality. And, that's part of what comes along with being in the outdoors.
yeah, yeah. Well, you don't go vacuum up the ants.
No, no. And one of the first reviews I had as a general manager, she demanded I be fired because I couldn't do anything about the rain on her site.
Well, now they have rain insurance. I guess they have that
Well,
weather.
Book Outdoors has that.
Yeah,
So I know
yeah,
they're one of your sponsors. They actually offer that.
yeah. So
Hmm.
we always like to plug the sponsors.
Yeah.
So, but I guess looking to the future, what's in store for Advanced Outdoor Solutions? I mean, it sounds like you guys are expanding. You
Mhm.
guys are doing some different neat things. I guess is that just what you want to continue doing? Just continue growing?
It is. And really, because I love working with my team and I love working with clients, I like helping people make money. So
Yeah.
I always say I'm not good at a lot of things, but I'm good at outdoor hospitality. It's what I focused on most of my career. So I love working in it. I love the changes that have happened. Um, we are continuing to grow the land plans, site development, acquisition part of our company. And again, with the cost of money, we thought we would be slower this year, but we're not. The management side, Rachel is really spearheading, and Ben, I know you know Rachel.
Yeah.
So she's really focusing on that side of the company while I'm focusing on the acquisition, land plan design part of the company. So she and I together are a pretty dynamic duo.
Yeah, definitely. And, do you expect the development front to continue to, you know, kind of remain pretty hot here in the near future, I guess?
I do. I probably have 12 to 15 new builds in the queue right now. And the interesting thing about it is, as the cost of money increases, the sales price of the land and the cap rates are adjusting to that. So at the end of the day, when I do a financial package, my clients will say, look, if 10% interest pencils and still gets me the return that I want, it makes sense. And of course, when you're my age, you remember that interest rates at one time were 21%. So no one's thrilled that interest rates are 10% right now, but if it pencils, it pencils.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And what about on the financing side? Are you still able to get people the financing?
I am, and I love my relationships with Business Finance Depot, with Paul, with Bruce Herda, Live Oak Bank. I do an awful lot of work with Live Oak Bank and Mo and Nick over on that side of the lending. Those guys are hungry to know more about the RV industry, and to their credit, they'll often bring me in to train their team on outdoor hospitality. So a lot of lenders in the space who are still bullish on the space. And that's so different than when I first started. Banks didn't know how to lend to RV parks. They didn't even know how to comp them or what they were. And so, boy, those times have really changed. So the lenders are still out there lending. Um, you can't have like bankruptcies in your past and things like that. But if you're strong and you bring in a management team, whether it be us or someone else, they are lending. And that's a key point. Lenders are not going to lend to someone without experience, without a management company. And again, I'm not pushing us. I'm just saying, as a general rule, you need a strong management company for the lenders to take you seriously, because if you have no experience in the space, that matters to lenders.
Yeah, yeah. We have to wrap up here pretty quick, but I did have one more question. On the insurance front, what are you noticing on that front as you're, working with these parks? I know we just had an article out the other day that the insurance costs continue to go up. I guess, is that something you're seeing at your parks?
Yeah, we are, but we've been able to keep it at bay with good providers in the
Yeah.
space who know how to go to other markets. I have a park in Colorado that we're just getting ready to take over, and they've had wildfires in that area. So traditional lenders are scared of that market. But the team that we work with can go outside their traditional markets and get coverage. But look, I live in Southwest Florida. I'm back in a home that was destroyed by Hurricane Ian. Our Florida parks are seeing painful increases. And so, that is hurting their P&L for sure.
Okay. Yeah. And hopefully the natural disasters settle down, maybe we
Ben,
can
from your
settle it
lips to
down.
God's ears. I mean, if
I
I
know.
have another one, I've lived on the water my whole life, and I've never
Yeah.
seen a hurricane like Ian was here in Southwest Florida. So, um, yeah, we're able to mitigate a lot of that by our preferred provider, who really works hard for our clients to get their costs to something that makes sense on their P&L.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Kathleen. I think I've told you before, I always learn something whenever I hear you speak at conventions or on a show like this. So thanks for being willing to come on. I know you're extremely busy, and I hope you have a wonderful holiday season in Florida.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ben and Mike. Merry Christmas and
Very
Happy New
jealous
Year
of
to
being
both
in
of
Florida
you.
this time of year.
Yeah,
Pretty sweet.
I've heard Omaha's pretty nice, Mike.
Oh yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Mike,
another
it's 70
Christmas.
and sunny today.
Well, it's supposed to be 62 tomorrow here, so I can't complain too much.
Warm up.
Well,
Beach
it's
day.
nice seeing you guys as always. And Ben, I'll be at Taco, so I'm sure I'll see you there.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming on
Thanks,
again,
guys.
and thanks everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to WCM's Park Update, a production of Woodall's Campground Magazine. Join us for a new show each Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on Facebook and LinkedIn for daily news and updates, and subscribe to our news feed on our website at woodallscm.com. Show hosts are Ben Quiggle and Mike Gast. Executive producers Rick Kessler and Alex Burkett. Copyright 2022, G&G Media Group.